Hello there, YouTube. How the hell are you? My name is Vac. We're back in this video to talk about another of Crowfall's races, and my favorite, the Stoneborn. Now, I'm a dwarf guy from way back. In every fantasy game I have ever played, I have always played a dwarf. Those are my guys. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm a large bearded mammal. It could be anything, really. But from classic fantasy like Lord of the Rings all the way to today, I have loved the dwarves. And the Stoneborn in Crowfall are a pretty interesting take on the classic dwarf trope. These are creatures made directly from the earth. They are literally made of stone. Their beards are not hair, they are tree roots of a sort. A very interesting race of people, to be sure. And they certainly, in their statistics, fit the classic trope of the dwarf. And let's have a look at that, shall we? So, Stoneborn start with an impressive number of bonus attributes. 75 Constitution, on top of 30 Spirit and 30 Strength. That's a human's 30 strength plus an additional 105 points of attributes in Constitution and Spirit. That's hard to beat. And then when you look at their statistic caps, they have the absolute maximum cap for Constitution. It just does not get tankier than a Stoneborn. They have a very low dexterity cap, but you're very likely to build any kind of Stoneborn that needs high dexterity. It's just very unlikely. They have an average intellect and spirit, and then they have an above average strength cap on top of that. And I hate it when games gimp dwarves in strength, as if those little guys aren't stout as could be. And they are. So this is a race that is stronger and much, much tougher than your average human being. And interestingly enough, they're not called dwarfs in this game, and they stand as tall as a human. So a little different than your average, a little different, but man, are they a lot of fun. So let's get a look at their granted powers, shall we? They have Blood of the Mountain, which is a passive that increases their incoming heals. And now that's not your ability to heal. That's anybody that heals you, whatever number they were about to heal you for, it gets increased by 15%. Whether you were about to heal yourself or it was incoming from someone else. So this is useful not only to dwarf clerics, but there I go again. But to Stoneborn frontline fighters, which most Stoneborn are going to be, because 3 of their 4 class choices are frontline fighters, and we'll get to that in a minute. So blood of the Mountain, that is 15% extra healing. When you're out in RVR, you're usually, you may not need it when you're just out farming mobs, but when you're out in RVR, you need a healer to keep you up in good, organized RVR. And this makes the healer's job easier. And I cannot stress enough how good that is. So moving along then, we have Coagulation. This is a passive ability. And it is a chance to, every time someone puts a bleed on you, there's a chance that you just drop that bleed right off and all other bleeds along with it. And this is very much like the phase ability to resist toxins, only for bleeds instead. And so along with having a high constitution, which gives you a good resistance to bleed, this makes the Stoneborn a very effective counter to bleed builds that you might see from other classes, particularly melee classes. And so, they're the rock to those scissors, I guess you could say. So moving right along, High Forge Apprentice. Now this is much like any good dwarf stereotype. These guys are great at blacksmithing. And what they get is a +10 to both blacksmithing and blacksmithing experimentation, which makes them, hands down, with the high strength and decent intelligence on top of that, this makes this class hands down the best blacksmiths in the game. And if you're looking to pump out some weapons and armor for your buddies in your guild, this is your race, no doubt about it. And I would suggest Champion on top of that because they have pretty high starting stats. But moving on from that, we'll get to classes in a minute. I Get Knocked Down is a passive that gives you knockdown reduction, which is already pretty good on top of that. And when you get knocked down, you get a bonus to your damage and to your healing. So whatever your role may be, you get a little better at it. after you get knocked down, which kind of incentivizes you to be toward the front line, taking some damage. And even if you're a dwarf cleric, that's probably where you should be. You should be in the front. You're a Stoneborn. You can stand up to the damage better than most. So, you know, you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to be the first guy out there if you're the cleric. But these are some very tanky racial statistics that these guys get. The plus 75 Constitution right off the bat is just massive. So you have all kind of incentive to be out there taking some hits. Stone Skin is an active ability that is pretty decent. Basically what this does is it increases your damage reduction by 50% and makes you immune to poison. And all that does is that during the duration, 50% of any healing done to you drops. So if you're a melee guy and your healers are all dead and you're just trying to stay alive for the next few seconds and maybe finish off this match or this fight that you're in, then throw it down, buy yourself a little time. But even if you're a cleric and you're trying to heal yourself, a good time to pop this is when the local assassin jumps on you in the back line and is trying to hit you with all kind of toxins and poisons. You can just immediately make yourself immune, and that initial burst of theirs will be neutered. So this is a pretty decent RVR ability, and I like active racial abilities that have a high use in PvP combat, and the Stoneborn certainly applies. And so lastly, you have Barrel Roll. This is really not anything to write home about. They have a 10 meter, 2 pip, very much like the humans Barrel Roll. I don't even have it loaded up. In fact, I use shield dodge. I should have perhaps set that up ahead of time. I use shield block, but they have a 10 meter Barrel Roll that isn't that special. But there you go, just the basic amount of mobility. So let's go get a look at what classes these guys can play. So here we are at the character creation screen, and we can see here that Stoneborn have 4 choices for class. They have Champion, Cleric, Knight, and Myrmidon. And as predictable for a race with these statistics, these are pretty much, except for the Cleric, all clear frontline combatants, melee frontline combatants. And that's really where your Stoneborn should be. Even as a Cleric, I think, you should be up supporting the frontline guys. You should be taking some shots for the squishies behind you, because you can sure take damage better than the Confessors or the you know, so forth behind you, the squishies that are in the back throwing high DPS. So there's really not a bad choice here. These guys are tailor built to do, especially to do Champion and Knight, which are both high damage in some cases. Depends on the spec you go with. But in either case, these are classes that rely on wearing heavy armor, plate and mail, and being able to stand up in a fight. Champions, most people go for the pit fighter spec, which is very good in RBR right now and is very durable. And so a Stoneborn lends itself more to that. A Myrmidon is more of an offensive build for most people, and so oftentimes you'll see other races like Half Giant or Minotaur used more commonly. But if you just want a tanky Myrmidon, Stoneborn is a great choice. There's really no bad choice there. Knights, of course, are meant to be, at least along the 1 spec line, the tankiest characters in the game. No doubt as a Stoneborn, you will be. So this is a great choice for all 4 of these classes. You can hardly go wrong. Close your eyes, throw a dart at the dartboard, take whatever you get, or just go with whatever you like. Either way, you should get out there and have some fun in the RVR zones with your Stoneborn, because I think you're going to enjoy them. So that's all we got to talk about today. That concludes my favorite race, the Stoneborn. If you like what you saw today, we'd love it if you can give us a like or a subscribe, because that helps us grow, gets more eyeballs on the channel, and we sure appreciate you. So if you'd like to join our Discord community or even look into joining our guild, Reckoning, there are links in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so there as well. So thanks a lot for watching. Until I see you guys again, be cool, keep gaming. I'm Vac, and I'm out of here.